Sounds good.
All right, we're coming up in two,
Hello,
three.
everybody.
Hey, I'm sorry about that. Oh my gosh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Hey. All right. And five. Turn everything off. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Santita Jackson Show here on AM 950 Radio, the voice of progressive Minnesota. It is a joy to be with you as we're going into the 4th of July weekend. Can you believe that's the midpoint of summer? What? I'm just getting my summer clothes out. What's going on, everybody? Whoa, this is so. But I'm loving every minute of it, but it's positively balmy. It is hot in Chicago. It is hot in Minneapolis. It is hot in DC. It is hot in New York. It's hot everywhere. It's a lot. It's a lot. Hope you're staying safe. And please be careful as you travel. So many people are traveling during this holiday season. Please be careful and have a great time, whatever it is that you do. We're going to be touching upon some interesting topics this week. And of course, ever present is what's happening in Iran and Israel. And of course, the United States, we're in it. That's in the next hour. But let's talk about Zohran Momdani. Now that the shock of his earth-shaking win has settled in on everyone. Now you're seeing the big moneyed interests, the Democratic establishment, really come in on him. Don't be upset about that. They should, because power concedes nothing without demand. It never has. It never will. Frederick Douglass told us that more than 100 years ago. So this is a testament to the power of his candidacy, and I want you to really understand this. This is a testament to your power, people power. People power outweighs money power every time. The reason you have the United States of America is because some people rose up and decided to oppose a monarchy. And this was at a time when monarchs were believed to have been anointed by God to rule over you. And yet these men decided there was a new way of thinking. And as we look at history, have a realistic view of it, their wives were more partnered with them than we knew when we were growing up, for sure. And they believed something different. So, hey, that's why D-Ray, I'm on, girl. And so let's talk about Zohran Momdani and how we can overcome the challenges that are before him, because it is a city of 7+ million people, about 8 million people are between the 5 boroughs of New York City. And roughly 1 million people voted. How many people are going to come out now after they paint him as a socialist, as someone who's a commie pinko who wants to give you things for free? He doesn't want you to ride the buses for free. All of this is underwritten by our tax dollars. We have to decide how we want our tax dollars to be used. Are they going to supplement Wall Street, who every time they get into trouble, they come to the American people to bail them out? Or do you need a break today? Because that's really what he's talking about. Stabilizing rent prices in New York. New York is unaffordable. Chicago's becoming unaffordable. Most people who work a decent job with decent pay are now not able to rent in the cities and rent in the cities in which they are working. So what he's trying to do is offer up some solutions for that. And so now young people came together, and it was really a rainbow. And he is going to communities where he has vulnerabilities. He's going everywhere to continue to excite people, and I dare say incite people. Incite them in a good way to get out and vote and to get organized. It was more than 50,000 volunteers, everybody. Think about that. People were knocking on doors, on each other's doors. But let's look at the establishment. Bill Ackman, the billionaire financier who engineered the anti-DEI movement. He helped to pay to have the Palestinian protesters beaten up at UCLA. He and Jerry Seinfeld's wife. Am I not right, Ronnie and Patrice? Oh, yeah, no.
That's exactly right.
No, we have to put it out there. He's someone who got the first African American president of Harvard removed from her position. He keeps on going. And now he said, please, uh, I'm going to put some money behind somebody to run. He might even run. Who knows? And these people have the best of the best who are going to get out there and shape a message that would, oh wow, that would make Zohran Momdani's own mother not recognize him, because that's how they do it. So let's talk about this. I want you to meet me on Blue Sky, santitajackson.bsky.social, santitajackson.bsky.social, or at Santita J on X, at Santita J on X, and facebook.com/ Santita Jackson and friends. And hey, D Ray, how you doing, sweetie? Paula, how you doing? That's right. Let's get on over to the Santita Jackson Show YouTube channel. I need you to like and subscribe there and pass the show around, please. So let's get right to it. We've got Teal Hardeman, Violence Interrupters, a brilliant organizer in Chicago. Attorney Daryl Jones, Transformative Justice Coalition. He and Barbara Arnwine have their own radio show on WOL in DC, 12 noon Eastern Standard Time every Tuesday. Go on and give them your support as they support you. But I'm going to start with you, Ronnie Patrice. Democratic organizer, you have been at it, and you really have an understanding of the campaign, the nuts and bolts of it, I would say, and really just campaigning in general. Because I've seen this before. Literally the night Reverend won the Michigan primary, it was what was it, a sea of about about 7 or 8 candidates, 6 to 8 candidates, and he won more than 56% of the vote. It completely stopped the political machinery. That was a Saturday night. Time magazine, Newsweek magazine stopped the presses. They had to come up with a new cover story. And he had to be in Washington on Monday because the power brokers wanted to meet with him. That's how that works. Now, because Reverend wouldn't bend, well, that's why he's Reverend and not the president. But that's okay. I'm not upset about it. But, let's be honest, this is how this works, right? And I think that the more that people push, Rania, uh, I think that's what the establishment fear more than anything. The people.
Yep.
When the people rise up, everything changes. So, what do you make of these people who are stating we're coming after him? I mean, and they're laying it out there. And I found out this morning that Cuomo is still on the ballot. I mean, his concession was just, it was so gentlemanly, it was so ginger. I said, I wonder what's going on here. And I could see his wheels turning because that's just the nature of politics, right? I mean, I'm not mad at you. I don't hate the player, I hate the game. That's how it works. So talk to me. What are we looking at?
Yeah, unfortunately, I feel like none of this is new, actually, right? I think this is just the ongoing, if I'm going to be nice about it, I'll say shenanigans that have always been at play. And you know this intimately, just like you said, with your father's run. We've seen it over and over and over throughout history. When somebody catches fire with the people, to your point, and usually it is because they have resonated with the people. And I always, I was Bernie's deputy campaign manager in 2016. I mean, none of us thought this old white curmudgeon was going to be the one who got everybody's attention. And I often remind people in 2015, when I started with him, he had 2% name ID.
Yeah.
2% name ID. But he resonated with people because he was, he wasn't perfect. There are all kinds of things we could talk. Nobody is, right? But his message resonated with people because he was actually having honest, real conversations about the things that people think about every day. And so, of course, they had to jump, the establishment had to jump in and put the kibosh on that as best they could. We've seen it again and again and again. We saw it in 2020. And I just mentioned all of that to say none of this is new. We're seeing it again. Here we have somebody who has a message, who has a vision, and who's putting it forward plainly for everyone to hear, for everyone to be able to find themselves in it. which I think is where we have failed as a party, but even more broadly, is meeting people where they are. I say this often, and I'm sorry to say it again, but meeting people where they are and being all things to all people are not the same thing.
What do you
Being
mean?
all things, so trying to be all things to all people is what we saw happen in 2016. We saw it happen in 2020. Granted, it was a different, totally different scenario on the heels of COVID and all the things. And again in 2024, that's pandering. If we're just going to call it what it is, it's pandering versus meeting people where they are and having honest dialogue and saying, listen, we may not agree on every single thing, but can we find our common points of humanity? Can I tell you that I understand what the pain that you're suffering day in and day out, and I am not just going to name it, I'm going to tell you what my plan is to make it better. And that's what Zohran did. It's what he did. And it was very, yes, there are all kinds of campaign tactics that I think are really, really important to dig into. But the thing, and I actually was just on a meeting today where I literally yelled at a group of people that what they're going to do is sit around a room and talk about how they're going to make somebody authentic. That's what the establishment does. They're going to sit around a table, a conference room, and they're going to say, how do we make our candidates seem authentic? Versus, oh my goodness, the idea of actually finding people who are authentic, who care about humanity, who care about the greater good, who have a vision, who have a message, and who are not afraid to kick the status quo to the curb. Because frankly, that's not serving anybody. It's not serving, well, I take that back. It's serving the people it's intended to serve, and that's the multi millionaires and billionaires. That's who it's serving. And I think that's what we saw from Zohran. I think that's why he caught fire, and he did it in a wildly authentic way. I've known him for a long time. This is who he is. This is who he is as a human being, and that's what he brought forward. And let me tell you, he had a ton of people in his ears telling him, "Don't say this, don't do that, do this
Oh,
differently, be this way,"
absolutely.
And he told them to go fly a kite.
Hmm.
Which frankly, if we all just fall in line and we all just do what we're told, we're operating within the same system that is not broken. It's serving who it's meant to serve, but it is wildly dysfunctional and wildly flawed. So anyway, to answer your question, I think it's status quo, typical fear, BS that we see from the establishment of trying to shut down anyone who doesn't apply to their rules and wants to do things differently.
And
That's
quite
what we're
frankly,
seeing.
Ronnie, who they didn't bring. They have to make people authentic who they choose, not whom we send.
Yes. Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
the
Yes.
people whom we choose, they cannot control because we sent them. See, and that's why we have
Yep.
to be very careful because a lot of these so-called leadership, and I put that in quotation marks, that we have now, are people they have packaged and sent to us. And I'm not just saying in an election cycle. These are people who they have had in the pipeline a long time, going back to their college or high school days, because
Mm-hmm.
that's how it is. That's how it works. And
Absolutely. And
what
that's
you
where we see, I'm so sorry
yeah,
to jump in, but this is
no,
where
no,
we see the whole ideology, not idea, well, it is an ideology, but the whole narrative of wait your turn. Why do
yeah.
they want people to wait their turn? Why is that? It's because the people that are in line next are the people that they can control and that they've groomed to be the people that they can control.
Hmm.
So I'm all about throwing it all out the window.
Well, and pardon me for mispronouncing his name. I don't know why I wanted to make him Koran, but he's Zoran Momdani. Zoran Momdani. And, he is someone who is from a family of a brilliant academic. His mother's a brilliant filmmaker. And he's just, he's African, he's Indian. He has a whole different view of the world, everybody. It's very, very different. And I spent a lot of time on the continent in Africa. And I know a lot of Indians who live there. And it's a very different view. It's a different worldview because they see themselves as, for the most part, I mean, you have right wingers everywhere, right? But they see themselves as
Mm-hmm.
part of a larger struggle. Um, Diasporic people of color who are pushing back against the establishment.
Is there room?
and he's remained true to that. And I think that's why it's important for us to really, and that's why it's important for us to understand his background, Rania. It's very, very important for us to understand who he is, and because he also has a context out of which he operates,
Yeah.
and I think that that is important. Hey, Mike Moss. Hey, Bernadette. Hey, Paula. D. Ray. Sending you all so much love. Everybody, like and share the show. Like and share the show, because I think he is someone who is of and for this moment. These young kids. This is not. If Democrats, bless their hearts, it is not a victory for the party as much as it is a victory for people.
Mhm.
People are looking at this.
Absolutely.
Reverend's campaign was the same way. What was he going to do? Run on the Republican ticket and make an argument to counter Reagan? No. It's like, no, no. This is supposed. This we unfortunately, still have a binary system. But more and more, that is not true. See, these young people and people who are disaffected are using the party, Gerald Jones. They're using parties to make their point. Even Republicans are, because Trump got President Trump got disaffected people. A lot of folks who they don't they these are people who felt the fallout of their jobs being lost with Reagan.
Mhm.
That was a seismic shock to the American system. It was a blow to the labor movement. It was a blow to the American middle class, and he kept cutting. So I think we have to. I'm not here. Let me just say this: everyone, you can take your positions as you wish. I'm totally supportive of that. Supportive of that. But I'm an independent Democrat, and I'm registered as a Democrat because I have to be because I want to vote for my brother, and there's some people I want to vote for. But to be honest with you, I wish it were an open process so I could vote for people as I choose. Because I've met some Republicans who make a lot of sense, a lot of good, good, good sense. I'm looking at people who want to work for people. That's all I want. That's what I want, and that is what we need. And you have Daryl, these young kids who came out. I mean, because you saw him beginning to. He grew in the polls and then he surged. I think that as people saw that, wait a minute, this is real. He can actually win. Then people start coming out the woodwork.
Mhm.
They
Yeah,
say,
yeah.
"Well, I'm in, Daryl."
And Santita, I appreciate that because that's what happens. One of the things that we, the Transformative Justice Coalition, as we go around the country, we're working with Gen Zs and getting them out to vote, encouraging them to vote. The one thing that is a through line is that nothing encourages a Gen Z to vote more than victory. Once they can see that there's victory, that they can win something, oh my goodness, you're going to see them lining up to say, yes, this is it. They're speaking our language. Ronnie was 100% on point when she talked about meeting people where they are. I would take it one step further, right? It's not simply meeting them where they are, but it's also speaking their language. These are the issues that they understand. These are the issues that are germane to them. These are the issues that are important to them. So when you're talking about a rent freeze in New York, that's resonating because one of the things, and I'm a Democrat, right? One of the things that the Democratic Party does is they try to talk about housing without talking about it in a language that people can truly just
Yes.
understand and comprehend and say, yes, that's me. That's what I have going on. So when you have them talk about a rent freeze, they got it. We're not talking about any of this affordable housing. No, it's a rent freeze. That's what I need. So that's what's resonating with the younger folks when they're talking about dealing with childcare, right? If you're a young family, you're dealing with childcare issues, and when you're talking about free childcare, right? That's an issue that's going to resonate with. They get it. They got it. They're speaking in a way that is understandable and I'm not talking down on the Gen Z and their intellectual capability, but I'm talking politically about a way that you're speaking to folks that they get it, that they got it. The Democratic Party typically has a problem because they over intellectualize things, right? And
Daryl, they got too corporate. They're not talking to people.
corporate
They're talking around their issues because they don't want to step on the toes of their big moneyed interests.
and,
Let's just keep it 100. And
and
that's
okay,
how they're losing people, Daryl.
they're absolutely losing people. And what I'm hoping that they are able to see is what Zohran Momdani has done in New York in saying I'm going to push away from that type of conversation, that type of interest, that type of playing to the corporate interest. And I'm going straight to the people, because this is what he's done in his past. As an assembly person, as a community organizer, this is what he's done, and he's bringing it now to the forefront for the playbook for what he's going to do going into the general election. And I think you're going to continue to see Gen Zs and voters that have been impacted in the areas that he's talking about. You're going to see them coming out to register and coming out to vote. That's what you're going to see happening now, because he's tapped into what President Trump tapped into, right? Because what President Trump tapped into was the anger that Americans had with regards to what they were experiencing economically. The anger that they had with regards to, and then they just bought everything else that he said from that point. What I believe is going to now happen with Zohran Momdani is that they're going to tap into the inclusiveness that he's trying to bring to New York City in this mayoral race. And I truly believe that when he's talking about raising the minimum wage, when he's talking about the rent freeze, when he's talking about having the grocery store that's supported by the city and all these things, those are all things that are going to resonate, and it's going to result in greater registration. It's going to result in more people going to the polls saying, this is a guy that understands me, that understands my needs, Santita.
Well, because Americans want to figure out, to me, it is entirely appropriate for the government to support a grocery store where I can get some good food.
Absolutely.
I don't need a bomb. How many of you need anyone need a bomb? Anyone? Really? Oh, okay. Yeah, because that's what we're subsidizing right now.
Mm-hmm.
So, we're the ones in the streets, not because in the suites they're not going to do it. Tio, we have to change the narratives and say, hey, wait a minute. Wait. He is speaking not around our issues so that he can avoid stepping on some toes. He's speaking to my lived experience.
Right.
My lived experience is, oh my goodness, how much money would I save to not have, if I could just get on the bus and not worry about it. But just get on the bus and get anywhere.
And a bus that's working efficiently too. Not just a bus, but a bus that is actually getting me to where I need to go on time without issue. And one thing on young people that I always just have to say, which is, I work with so many young people across so many issues. One of the things I absolutely love about them is they're beholden to nobody.
That's it.
Nobody. They don't care. I am a lifelong Democrat. Daryl, you said so too, Santita. I know you as well. But they don't care about labels. They care about, what are you going to do? Show me, tell me, and show up and be real about it. It's real authenticity they're looking for, not the manufactured stuff we were talking about before.
Right.
Well, Santita, the young man kind of reminds me of what's going on in Burkina Faso with Ibrahim Traoré. Ibrahim is talking to the needs of the people. That's what he's doing there in New York. And so right now, we should learn a little something from Trump. People are tired of being supporting politically correct individuals to a degree. That doesn't mean that he's not politically correct. It's just that he has a different message that is resonating amongst the everyday working class people, and it's showing in the numbers right now. Anytime a candidate can reach the younger population, that's major, because that's a hard population to reach sometimes, all right? So that's the way I look at it. It's just a change that's in the air, because people want somebody that can understand what, like I interviewed a lady on my show this morning. She lost her son due to gun violence, but she was saying a lot of people telling her just to get over it. You cannot just simply get over it. What came through to me when she was talking, say she carried her son through the pregnancy, and she was connected to him through a nervous system, through all the systems in her body, mind, and spirit. So that's the reason why she's so attached to the fact it's hard for her to let go of her losing her son. And the reason I mention that is because people just, we have to be connected. People looking to be connected to somebody that's going to, not necessarily just because he's saying you said a rent freeze, right? That's what we talked about, correct?
Yes.
Not just because of the rent freeze or getting on the bus. It's just people want to support down-home individuals, people that can walk the streets, that can get to know them, and not just come try to get a photo op. Somebody that's right there, even putting a perception, they're right there with me. They understand me. Case in point, when I ran for governor in 2014, Santita, we secured 28.1% of the state vote. Now, if the people had to really take into my message, not get caught up in the big money politics, I would have won that primary. I know I would have won the primary, right? Now, providing I won the primary, there was a billionaire I was running against. It would have been Bruce Rauner, who became the governor because he's a multi-billionaire. I believe I could have defeated him because once I got through the primary, what would have happened? The people would have supported me all the way because I got that far. I'm just using that as an example. And the reason I got that far is because I understand the people. I walked the streets of Illinois. I shook hands over 350,000 people that told me that they supported my message. They support my platform. So that's what candidates have to do moving forward. These billionaires have the ability to make or break you when they put a lot of information out there in social media and on the airways. And if you can survive that onslaught, you can really become a special person. Just put it like that, everybody. All right, you can become a special, much liked person amongst the multitudes of the people. In other words.
Right.
Well, absolutely. But the thing is, yes, Ariel. I mean, I think that I am not afraid of this big money that is coming at him, because I'm like, please, you all need to come on. I want everybody to know, to see how this works, because your vote and an organized people will beat big money every single time.
Yeah.
We can do that. I mean, Ariel? Okay, maybe I have to unmute you. Do I have to unmute you?
Oh, no.
Okay. Ariel,
sorry
your
about
thought.
that. I apologize for train noises, but I just want to say I just so resonated with what you said. But I don't think any of us need a bomb, but a whole lot of people here in the United States right now need, and we are just going into a vote on an agenda that will rip healthcare from people whose lives literally depend upon it, including the disabled, otherwise abled folks that without access to Medicaid cannot survive. We also need food. Yeah, I've got no problem with my country or my state or my city paying for some of my food and my transportation, but I've got a hell of a problem with my country paying for wars across the world, the killing of people that makes nobody any safer. Don't tell me that we are, I don't care if it's 1 month, 2 months, 0 months, or 2 years that we set the Iran nuclear program back by bombing Iran. First of all, you can't bomb that away anyway. You can't bomb the knowledge of how to make a nuclear bomb out of not just people's heads, because we did manage to, Israel bombed scientists, but you can't bomb you can't bomb it out of the cloud, right? It's there, it exists. If other countries that are allies with Iran know about it, and let's just face it, now Iran will do the bomb because Israel and then the U.S. said, "Here, you do this," and they're going to, and all of us are going to be less safe. So I don't need a bomb. I don't need to be bombing Iran's nuclear program back supposedly a month or a year. I need health care. I need food. I need education for my children.
But you have to tell you, Ariel, people are really getting tired of the West, or should I say white countries, telling brown and black countries what they cannot have. When they're the ones, it was the United States that dropped 2 atomic bombs on Japan, 2. Mm-hmm. They have said, reports have shown that the bomb blasts in Gaza are equal to several nuclear bombs that have been dropped on these people. So why you all don't need bombs? You're the ones who need to be checked on nuclear energy because you use it to decimate people. I mean, that's what they do. And so, of course, North Korea is going to say, "I'm out." Everyone has said in Africa, you know what? Gaddafi's big miscalculation was letting go of his nuclear ambitions. Mm-hmm. Because these people do not mess with you. It's sad, but that's the paradigm of the West. Might makes right, which is crazy. And now we're on the verge of nuclear annihilation. And it will not be, and let me tell you, it will not be these people who pull the trigger. It will be the West who do it, because that's what they do. In the meantime, I've got Zohran Momdani, who's talking to me about controlling my rent, freezing it. He's talking to me about, you'll be able to get around New York City. It will be affordable for you. You work here, it should be affordable for you. Oh, and you know what? You're going to be able to get some good food in your neighborhoods that will be affordable. What is the problem? I mean, I just want to see. I want to hear Mayor Adams, who has launched his independent candidacy, no doubt, funded by these big moneyed interests. I want to hear Bill Ackman. I want to hear these people tell me what is objectionable. Why we cannot afford, Rania, what Momdani has said. Wait a minute. Subsidize people, not Wall Street, because
Mhm.
that's what we do. Every time Wall Street has a problem, they come running to me, picking my pockets. So I mean, so what kind of now you are in the business of shaping narratives and images. What would you advise him to do moving forward? I mean, in addition to running his race and just letting these people do what it is that they want to do.
Do me? Are you talking to
Yeah,
me?
absolutely. I mean, because
Okay.
because
Well,
you're going to be because I can only imagine, not imagine. I know the Democratic establishment, and so do I. They are freaking out.
Mhm.
oh
This.
yeah, but I think I am a very fortunate person, and it is a privilege that I have had the luxury of working with people that I believe in.
Yeah.
Now, I have been wrong in the past about people. I'm not going to, we'll tell stories later.
Yeah.
But going in, I am very, like I said, very fortunate that I get to work with people that I believe in, that we have alignment in what we think. We have alignment just believing, you've heard me say we're citizens of the planet first. So my approach, I'm the worst. I'm not an establishment person. They don't like me very much. Not surprising. I wear it as a badge of honor, but it is
Well,
what it
we're
is.
all Ariel. You and I we're always the excluded ones.
We're the misfits.
That's
We're
why
the
we hang out.
misfits, right? I love it.
We hang out together, and we're in a corner
I
by
know.
ourselves.
I'm proud. I'm proud of this sisterhood. But the thing I will say, it, the thing I never do with anyone I've worked with any of my clients, past or present, I never try to turn them into something they're not.
Hmm.
And I think that's key to the work that I do and what I believe, frankly. Um, but I also think it's why as maddening as all of this is, and as horrible as some people are, I do still find hope and progress in it, because I'm not trying to put somebody in a box. All I want to do is sort of help amplify what it is, that the message that they're trying to bring
Hmm.
forward. And sometimes that means I do paid media as part of my wild and crazy life. Sometimes I'll watch an ad and I'm like, why do I hate this so much? And I'll talk to one of our production guys, and they'll say, well, because they're trying to turn this person into an actor, and they're not an actor. Everybody can't do the walk and talk. Everybody isn't great at
Hmm.
delivering a message. And so yeah, sometimes you need to, have a conversation about tightening it up, or whatever the case may be. But every person is not the same. Every election cycle is not the same. Every state is not the same. Every district is not the same. And I think what we see from the establishment is it's literally like campaign in a box. Here's what we're going to do. Here's what you're going to say. Here's how you're going to say it. We're going to poll test the hell out of it. It doesn't matter what's actually happening in real life and on the ground. This little snapshot in time, we're going to tell you what it says, and then you got to stick to that. That's your script from here until eternity. And it doesn't work. And it's infuriating. So I think that's, for me, if and nobody has to listen to anything I have to say, but if it's me advising, I'm saying, you do you, continue to have the human conversations with people, continue going into the communities that maybe don't necessarily agree with you all the time, and you hold on to that, and you're going to continue having people in your ears and in your head and telling you what you're doing wrong. And it's the thing I say to my clients all the time. If you talk to 100 people, you're going to get 150 ideas.
Hmm.
Who are you? What is your message? What do you want to do? What are you trying to accomplish? Let's stick to that and not let all the other, whether it's outside noise or outside money, dictate what's next.
Because I think that's how he can win,
Yeah.
Rania.
Absolutely.
Because
Absolutely.
look, everybody's on TV now. Everybody can be a star. All you have to do is get on television and get in a contest and you become a superstar, which is crazy. I mean, there's a reason that you have the
So
Chitlin
true.
Circuit and vaudeville, which is what vaudeville was white Chitlin Circuit and Chitlin Circuit was black vaudeville. I mean, let's be honest. And you perfected your craft.
Mm-hmm.
And that is how you get to be great. Today, everybody can be a television star. They don't have to have any talent.
Mm-hmm.
They can just be there. And we've gotten very accustomed to that. But the thing is, the artifice, the young people have caught on to that.
Yeah.
And they're so done. I have talked to so many young people who really were bothered by Liz Cheney and Kamala Harris that tour. Daryl, Ariel, Tia,
I'm not a young person, and I was bothered by it.
When I say young, the reason I bring up young people is because that turned them not just off but away.
Mm-hmm.
Big
They
time.
said, when I was a child or before I was born, these people launched another war. This is not who I'm running after. And you run away from Bernie and
Right.
AOC and the progressives? Nah, that's not gonna work. Daryl?
But one other thing that I want to add to what you're saying, Santita, you're 100% correct with regards to the younger voters and what they're looking for. You know, they're not looking for the establishment. They're not looking for the ones that have really told them to wait. You know, you got next. You know, their statement is, "We don't have next, we have now." Okay, and that's what they're looking for is now, not next. So one of the things that I really love about Zohran Momdani is that, you know, what he has really going for him right now is that the more the Democratic establishment comes against him, the more popular he's going to become because he's going to represent that interest of pushing back. That's what the young folks are looking for. I want someone who's going to stand up for me and fight. What's the one thing we've been hearing about this Democratic Party, right? That they don't have an agenda, that they're not standing up, that they don't have backbone, that they're not fighting, right? They're not fighting for our interests. The one thing that Zohran Momdani has done, he said, "This is what I stand for. These are the people that I'm focused on, and I'm pushing forward on my issues." That's what's going to really resonate and continue to resonate for him as he continues to run. So, you know, one of the things that I learned early on when I ran for office was that America loves a long shot. They love someone that's going against the odds. They love someone that's going against the grain, but they also love someone in which they can be in agreement on them on principle and morality issues. And that's where they are with Momdani. And the Democratic Party, they're going to have to figure out how to adjust because I really do believe, and Ronnie, you would know much better than I really do believe that he's going to continue to resonate, he's going to continue to grow, and folks are going to have to figure out how to adjust because the people, those that are the working people that really run government, that democracy is supposed to be about, they're coming out to support him because he's speaking their language. They get him and he gets them. So that's what I anticipate happening, and that's what I love watching. That's going forward right now. That he's standing up, he's fighting for those people that he says he represents and has represented over the years.
Well, you know, he's speaking their experience.
Yes.
You know, I mean, you know, please. The thing is, and you know what? He's kind. Don't ever underestimate the power of someone being kind.
Mm-hmm.
The mean-spiritedness out here, people are getting tired of it, and we should be. Because it is cruel, it is spiritually immature, and it will lead us to mutual annihilation, Tio and Ariel. This is, and I'm saying this to the executive director of the Fellowship of Reconciliation, but there we go. I mean, but it's true. You don't underestimate people beyond likability. People feel that he's a kind person, even if they don't agree with him. They feel that, I've had people, from my time on Fox and even here, I've heard people say to me, I don't agree with some things that you say, but I think you try to be fair to people. I don't think that you're mean. I will say this. My parents have been together 64 years. And I think the great tribute that they make to each other is that my mother and father will say, my mother will say, your father does not have a mean bone in his body. Somebody said something about him. She said, no, 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 no. And my mother, anyone who knows her, my mother doesn't give anybody an inch. You know that, Tio. She said,
Yes, indeed.
my husband, whoa, he doesn't have a mean bone in his body. He is fundamentally kind. My father will say, my wife is the most decent human being I know. Now, if you can say that 60 plus years on, what else is there? Because people are looking for that. The bright, shiny things are out here. What we're looking for I don't want you to be perfect. I want you to be present. So whatever they bring out, and you know what? And quite honestly, I don't care about people's personal lives. I don't care about any of that. Because we're all a mixture of so many things. What I want is someone who has a heart to care for people.
Yep.
And I feel like that's what we get from him. There's just a fundamental decency. Just because he went to people that's why Trump voters would say, yeah, sheepishly. And then after they saw that he was not judging them, I just want to know why. Well, not just why, but what is it that you're looking for? What do you need him to do? Because now we got this big, beautiful bill. They're cutting Medicaid, Medicare, everything that honest Democrats told you he was going to do. Social Security. I saw a package on CNN last night, early this morning. It broke my heart. This woman has a child who is very clear that this child is struggling. She said, these cuts will kill my daughter. My child is going to die. So people have been lied to. And, if you continue to disappoint people, Ariel, and throw them under the bus, you don't know where that's going to go. I guess do you remember that song, It's a Thin Line Between Love and Hate? When he said, oh, it's 5 o'clock
Yes.
in the morning. I'm bandaged from feet to head. You remember that, T.O. In a state of shock.
Yes.
This much from being dead. I didn't believe this woman would do this to me. I kept doing her wrong.
That's
Oh my
right. Thin
God.
line. Thin line.
Come on, you
Yeah.
remember that song? Y'all remember? Look, Joan Jett did it, and I forget the soul group that did it. Everybody did it, please. And no, it was Chrissy Hynde who did it. Come on, I got my music. I love it because I love Chrissy Hynde, The Pretenders. And nobody could do that song wrong because it was just the truth. So Ariel, just what is in your thinking and in your experience, because you also come out of Code Pink. So you're an organizer. What is the path forward? Because I think that I don't think people are going to be able to get into his head. There's something, but it's going to be harder because he's not the guy who he was last week. And when I say that, I don't mean that in a bad way. He's going to have a whole different range of experiences, Rania. Oh, you don't. It's not that I don't want him to not change. I just want him to grow.
Mm-hmm.
No, when people tell you, oh, you haven't changed, you're the same. Please don't tell me that because I'm not the same. And if you tell me I'm the same, that's insulting because that means that I have not grown and I need to check myself. When you get a different set of experiences, you do change. My mother's not the same woman she was in Fort Pierce, Florida, with a house that was on stilts, with a mother who's a migrant worker. She's had a whole different body of experiences. My father's not the guy who was born in his house. You change. But what you don't want to do is forget that I was born in that house that used paper for my wallpaper was newspaper, which was that was my house. we had a pot, we had a stove that kept us warm. He's never forgotten that. That's all I'm asking. So Ariel, what's the path forward as you see it?
I think this is so much, I gotta say, I tweeted when Momdani won, I said, this is the next chapter of Jewish history, and we are so grateful to be writing this chapter of allyship, of working together, of support between Jews and Muslims and Arabs and people of all races and colors and creeds coming together to build a better world. And we have been deep down in the dumps for quite a long time now, with wars and expanding military budgets, regardless of which party won the election, and a full-scale genocide underway that we cannot seem to stop, again, regardless of which party is in power. And we have just had enough. So I'm an optimist today, and I see this as a page turning in our history, certainly a page turning in Jewish history, because the Jewish left pounded that pavement to win that election, and worked so hard on it, and refused the false
But wait a minute, Ariel.
Anti-Semitism, and defended Momdani against that.
Ariel, but let me go to that point. Because, of course, we remember, Rania, but let me start with you, Ariel. That point, we only have about 6 or 7 more minutes left here. He was, of course, this is what is asked in a mayoral election, in, a debate. When are you going to Israel? What are you going to do? And it takes on a particular poignancy now. And let me just say this. I have sympathy and empathy for the fears of people who survived the Holocaust or who have relatives who did. And I think we should never especially in this moment, lose that. Nor should you lose. The reason I don't want to turn down dark roads down in Mississippi is because I've got PTSD in my DNA from what happened to my ancestors. Okay, so Black folks in dark roads, we start running because it's like, hey, I know what's happened on this soil. So I think we have to, let's just stay there. Let's stay there. And so I understand, but I thought he was so courageous in that moment, Ariel. So talk to me, how was he able, because he pierced the veil on that one.
It's because it's not the dollar bill that pulls the lever at the voting machine. It's each of us. And we are reclaiming our power here as the American people and what we want for an agenda. And that we don't want big money, corporate interests, and dark money to make the policy decisions for us. We want human rights and morality and ethics, and a country that values diversity and migration and sanctuary. And we worked hard for this primary win, and we've got a lot of work ahead of us. The work is laid out, but we are ready to go.
Well, T.O. Hardiman, I think this is what Brandon Johnson is trying to bring. And many people have given him a lot of pushback without really looking at the forces that were arrayed against him on immigration. Governor Abbott could have taken people right back across the border. He is a member of the World Economic Forum. That was not his charge to you. Yeah. His charge was to put people all through the United States so they could work for cheap. That's what we do. That's what we do in America. So you tell me, what's the path forward? Because I certainly am still pulling for
well, that was straightforward.
Johnson.
Straightforward answer for you. It's time to get off the plantation. Plantation politics are a thing of the past. And I say that because people are looking for genuine people that really, like I say, understand them and support their causes and what they're really interested in. Because if you go against the plantation politics, whether you Democrat or Republican, you become ostracized or an outcast. We have to stop treating people like that, because you have new people that come along all the time that have a different message, but it still is in alignment with uplifting the people. So if you look at the reality of some of the inner city communities, even in some white communities, not just all African American, you have a whole lot of poverty going on out there. It's the job of leaders to kind of, help the people to a degree. So that's the only thing I can say. It's time to get off the plantation. And if I go against the plantation, don't hold me accountable for that for the rest of my life. Politics is like strange, Santita and everybody, because as soon as, like when I ran once again, I became like, you make enemies for no reason at all. Just because I decided to get off the plantation, run for office, and run for governor at the same time, all of a sudden, T.O.'s crazy. What's wrong with him? Who does he think he is? I'm somebody just like you, somebody. And I said it before on this here show, Santita, a Martian can come on a UFO with a bag full of money and run some real good commercials. He might become the president. I'm just being honest with you, because we get caught up in theatrics sometimes opposed to substance, a symbol without any substance. And what this young man in New York is doing, he has substance in his message, okay? So I just want to share that with your viewers as well.
Absolutely. And I hope that we'll stick with him, because you've had people who've been substantive, who have tried to move us off of plantation politics. But the tendency of people is to go back to what it is that Daryl.
Yeah.
And so what we have to do is keep on going. And you need to read the room. Read the room, because I've got nieces, nephews, and godchildren who are just coming out of college. And I'm here to tell you, ceasefire is a non-negotiable for them. Mm-hmm. Rebuilding our infrastructure, buses that they don't have to pay for in New York City, they're like, that's the way it ought to be. They have a whole new vision of the world, and they are not going to stop until they get it, Daryl. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. What's your closing thought?
You're 100% on point. And one of the things that I'll say in closing is this: what many people are looking for is someone who's not going to simply be ridden by the system, but someone who's going to go to the table and not simply sit at the table, but flip the table over because they don't like what's going on. They want their issues brought forward. And that's what I think Zohran Momdani represents. He's saying, we don't need to do business as usual. We don't need to take a knee to the government. We don't need to take a knee to the establishment. We need to meet the needs of our people. Let's flip this table. Let's go forward with the needs that we need to meet. That's what I think he represents, and that's what I think he's being so successful, because he is speaking their language.
Well, Rania, you have the closing thought here. We'll still be in the corner at these establishment events, but I don't mind. I guess I'm used to it. I'm used to it even in the civil rights movement, because my father was never at the center. Until he ran for president, we were always seated literally at the back of the Congressional Black Caucus dinners at the exit. But it was just because we were the outsiders. We were never in, so it never bothered me. If people start to draw us in, my mother's first instinct is to be very suspicious. She will say, "What do you want?" Because I know you and I don't want to be in with you. And my mother will tell you that. Mm-hmm. She did that to some of our neighbors. I think my parents had some reception in the backyard, and there were a lot of people in the back. And one of our neighbors, people who barely spoke, because it was, affluent, upper middle class community and blah, blah, blah. And my mother just flat out asked this woman, "What are you doing here? You don't even speak to me. And your children barely speak to my kids." My father was horrified, like, "Oh, Jackie." He said, no. So now you're acceptable, while we're sitting up here flanked with the Secret Service all around this. She said, "I don't have time for that." And I wanted her to know that, but my mother keeps it 100. So Rania, what's the path forward? I love that woman. She's just a lot.
She is a lot of perfect, is what she is. I love that so much. And I said it earlier, honestly, it's a badge of honor. It is a badge of honor that I wear proudly, to not be in the cool kids club, to not be somebody that the establishment likes. I've said the Biden White House blacklisted me. I helped elect that man, and they blacklisted me.
Wait. Before you go, now I got to give you a couple extra minutes. What?
Oh, have we not ever talked about this? Oh my gosh.
Nope. I want people to know how they have functioned. Because it doesn't shock me. I'm glad you said it. Oh. Yeah.
post, I can't believe I haven't said it before. I've got feelings about it, but even in the moment. So it was post October 7th. 2023. I am Palestinian, as you always, I gratefully you always mention, and I wake up every day being Palestinian. My family is still there. It is a devastating, continues to be a devastating time, and as you know well, I do not have much of a filter, and I don't adhere to sycophant, just I'm just going to go along to get along because that's what I need to do to move forward. I mean, to my own detriment sometimes, but I don't know how else to live. And I said too many things about how complicit Joe Biden and his administration were, how the excuses they made, the lies that they told, which people are, of course, now they're coming out and saying, oh yeah, we were lying every day. Thanks, but no thanks at this point. Um, yeah, so they blacklisted me. I literally could not pass a vet to get into the White House that I've been in a million and one times. And the only reason they unblacklisted me, this is how shameless the establishment is. And this is not just about President Biden, this is about all of them. The only reason I became unblacklisted is because of a celebrity who I work very closely with, who they wanted a meeting with, who wouldn't go to the meeting if I wasn't with him. That's the only reason they unblacklisted me. This is the establishment. This is the
That's right.
establishment. And this is what, and frankly, it's what we're fighting against. And across the board, it's not just a Democrat thing. We know this, but it is
It's a
an
power.
establishment thing. It is a power thing. They will hold on to that power and that money to the end of time, and do everything that they can to ensure that they do. And I'm not here for that. I don't think Zohran is here for that. I don't think anybody that's in this fight with us who believes in humanity and believes in the greater good and believes that we can and we must do better subscribe to that. So that's, I guess it's not really a parting message, except for we got to lock arms and we got to keep pushing back and demand that the status quo be put to bed.
Well, I want to be in with God and out with the devil. How about that part? Okay, and I'm just going to put it right there. I do, I don't want to dance on every show and be at every party.
Yep.
At some point, you have to take a principled stance and live with it. I'm not going to whisper that you're a Palestinian. You're Palestinian. I'm not going to whisper that you're Jewish and that you got family in Palestine and you've got family in Israel. Ariel, I'm going to shout it from the rooftops. There's nothing. Don't apologize. We're Black Americans, Daryl, T.O. That's
right.
it. I'm not hiding. I mean, what is this? Everything that you are matters. Everything that you are makes you who you are. And everything that you are, if you choose to grow from your experience, can really uplift humanity. That's part of the great gift of what's happening in the Middle East right now. If we can get through that, really, and if Palestinians can come out loving, and that would be the hardest thing in the world for them to do, because they have been absolutely treated like they were subhuman by people who call them animals. But this is what we do. Human beings do that. And it's shameful. It's shameful. So I'm not whispering you're not a Palestinian. You're a Palestinian American. Good for you. Good. And you bring that because you're in the White House carrying them with you. And if you didn't do that, you wouldn't be my friend.
I love you.
Yeah, I love
always.
You too. Don't you dare. Don't you dare walk in there and betray your people. Because if you betray your people, I can't trust you. If you betray your family, Israel, I cannot trust you. If you betray Black people and anyone who's living under the boot of oppression, anybody here, I have no words for you. Because you're just a traitor.
Yep.
Period.
Yep.
Check out T.O. Hardiman on WVON from 6 to 7 a.m. Central Standard Time every Sunday. You don't want to miss that. And, of course, check out his books on Amazon, T.O. Hardiman. And, of course, Attorney Daryl Jones coming up on Tuesday as we're going into this 4th of July weekend. Cha-cha-cha. Ooh. That's right. Of course, on WOL in D.C. But you can listen everywhere. WVON.com, WOLDC.com. Please. 12 noon Eastern Standard Time every Tuesday. Coming up, let's talk about Iran, Israel, and the United States. Is this a ceasefire or cessation of hostilities? Don't worry, Ariel, I'm about to send you a link. I'm going to send you one too, Rania. That's all. I'm good. Because I want to know. I want to know technically what are we looking at. Sending you much love. My love to all of our brothers and sisters at the National Bar Association, because you are on your way to Chicago. The Santita Jackson Show, AM 950 Radio, the voice of progressive Minnesota.